Hello, welcome to AK Lighting. We're going to be talking about a landscape lighting install. We had a variety of lights to put up, but the main ones that we were installing were some path lights. However, the path lights that we were supposed to install were bronze, but when we got here to the house, we found out that we ended up packing the black path lights, which are entirely different than the rest of the color. But we were going to be putting a uplight onto this tree right here in the front. It was going to have a tree mount, so that would be a little bit away. Then we're going to have a path light on that corner, this front piece, and right in front of this tree on the right. There are also going to be other 3 path lights in front of the house on the left side and right side of the main walkway, and one to the right as it goes into the backyard. There were also going to be 2 spotlights shining up from the trees. In order to get to these path lights, we were going to be cutting across the sidewalk, and that was going to be right in front of the garage, was the main area that we were considering putting the wire, just because it'd be a little bit simpler and it would keep the wire hidden. In the backyard, there were 2 moonlights that were going to be attached to this tree and shining onto the turf, the soccer field back here. I was going to light up the main area in front of the goals, and there was going to be a light switch on the fence right here in order to control this. And for that, we normally like to go under the turf, but couldn't really see that easy of a seam to access. Oh, there was also one more spotlight on this tree back here. These were the moonlights that we're going to be using. They're called the Bodacious Lights, and we also have them mounted with a tree mount. The wire that comes out is what we attach to the power, and then we use a heat shrink in order to keep that all protected. And then we put all of that wire into a conduit and bring it as far up as possible. You can see here Keaton is just getting started trenching to make sure that all of our wire is covered, getting it really close to the house, and pathing along where we're going to be putting our lights. And I got a little distracted by a little bitty lizard. The wire then goes across that part of the sidewalk, comes out here into the yard, and connects to the other area that we went across the driveway, and comes over to these 2 trees that I was saying would have 2 spotlights on them. This is the process we use for putting moonlights up. We crimp the wires with a slightly different grip, and then we heat shrink that. We do this to protect the wires and also to make sure that there's nothing that's going to eat at it. And then we flatten it to make it so it's easier for the wires to fit inside of the conduit. And this is our finished product. Now to go across the driveway, we were using our table saw in order to make the gap just a little bit wider. And we were using hearing protection and safety glasses. We do this at a lot of houses where we'll have to cut across. At this house, we just had to end up doing it a little bit more than other places. Usually it'll just be a sidewalk, or the driveway will get very narrow close to the sidewalk, so we'll go with that route. But this was just the closest, smallest part that we could go across. And this is what it looks like after we've widened the gap a little bit. And we do use something to cover that back up. We have this polymer sand right here, and for this house we decided to go with gray, this one on the right. As it would match the concrete and cement a little bit better. And it uses water to activate it to make it harden. Going throughout the day, all the trenching is done, and we're ready to start putting the lights and the wire in. This tree mount had its own separate pathing to get to the path lights. And then the transformer was all the way back here on the left behind the fence. And it also went over to the turf. And our transformer was going to be right here next to all this pool filtering equipment on the wall. We also had to send a wire all the way through the back and pull up all of this turf over here and continue all the way back to where that shovel is, and even past that around the back. We noticed that they get edging done, so decided to put heat shrink with copper tubing over it in order to protect the wire at the edges of the driveway. We just go about pushing the wire down as far down as possible and then cover it up with sand. For the moonlights in the backyard, this is what they look like installed. And now you can see it a little bit closer up here. And here is our other moonlight. They're gonna be shining down over here on the part. And this is our conduit. Before it's painted, we do paint the conduit, usually with spray paint. And it just goes along nicely on the tree. And then it'll go into the turf and jump across and go along this line. Go across the back, all the way along the fence line. And the reason we had to do that is because at the seam, it was just glued down. So with this stick, we'll attach the power wire and bring the power to the moonlights under the turf. We just use some tape to attach the wire onto the stick, and then we push it underneath the turf. And after we get the wire across, we pull it to the side, push the nails, staples back down, and use a hammer to help with that to keep it closer to the ground. And I'm just trying to make it a little bit less noticeable. And this is the sand that we used. You can see it matches pretty well with the color of concrete that's around it. And then with the water activation, it'll harden up and be a very protective layer for the wires. We have more of our lights installed. We have that spotlight on the tree, these path lights on the front. And this was the other spot where we had to put sand right in front of the garage. That led to our other path lights. One of them was pretty hidden in the bush, but it'll light the area very well still. And the other one was right behind the cactus, and our last path light was on the edge of the walkway leading to the backyard. And our two spotlights right here are working. And this is what we're doing, just making sure all of the path lights are active and lit. And so as the light switch in the backyard, we also painted the piping that it was on, and they just have to come back here and turn on the switch, and it has a cover to protect it. All the turf on the back got pushed back down, and it's pretty hard to tell that it was ever brought up. We have our wire going under and into our transformer right here. It also has a Wi-Fi outlet so they can just control it off of their phone. If you would like to have any lighting done at your house, please give us a call. Check our website and schedule an appointment. We can give you a free quote. Or you can check out our masterclass video on how to improve the lighting for your home. Thank you and have a good day.